Welcome to another edition of the How Dead Sports Podcast. This is your favorite host, Paul. Hey, Austin, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about you, Paul?
I can't complain. I really can't, outside of the weather just being funky, the
Up
weather
and
just being
down.
funky. Yeah, so um, it is what it is, but it's Chicago. It's spring and it is what it is. But yeah,
Well, it's spring. It's fake spring. It's
yeah. Oh yeah. Isn't spring within another couple weeks?
I think so. Isn't it like like either the last week of March or the first week of April, something like that?
Yeah, yeah. So, um, I guess we got a little spoiled with the 60 and 70-degree weather we had last weekend,
Yeah, and then this morning we wake up to reality.
rain and
A little bit of
snow, and
snow.
and then you're looking at the weather for next week. So it's be 23 degrees and some snow next week too.
And then I also saw by the end of the week we're back in the 60s.
Great. See, this is how people get sick.
Of course.
Yeah. So yeah. So NFL free agency is kind of the big buzz. Um, it's pretty funny for me because I used to think like the um, most drama came from the NBA with their free agency stuff and trade deadlines and things like that. But oh my God, this whole Max Crosby thing, it, it, it's it's interesting in a way. Um, you know, I know Bears fans, wanted the Bears to trade for him, and then coming last Friday, you get the Ravens, um, trading their two first round picks, and then you actually hear that the Bears were, according to reports and on talks like that, but I guess the Ravens took the, I'm sorry, um, the Raiders took the Ravens picks because they were earlier in the draft, which makes sense, right? Pick 11 versus pick 25. Okay, fine, whatever. But then, I'm doing what I normally do with Grubhub, and then I look down on my phone and I see that I get this tweet that says that the the Raiders sent out and said that the Ravens backed out, and I'm sitting up here like, is this real? Because it came from Ian Rappaport, and I see the blue check mark, and I was like, okay, all right. So then I'm like, maybe it's still a fake, right? So then I pressed on it, his profile was to make sure he had a bunch of people following him, and then other people start quote tweeting him, and I was like, oh, this is real. So
And
that's when I sent it over to you, and what are your thoughts?
I mean, it literally popped. I was in the middle of doing some dishes, right? And I usually watch a podcast or watch something while I'm doing dishes and stuff. Phone buzzes, I kind of check. For some reason, whatever reason, my phone just kept buzz, buzz, buzz. What the hell is going on? Go and check. Oh, the Ravens backed out of the Max Crosby trade. Okay. Wait a minute, what? It absolutely blew my mind. And then you come to find out not 12 hours later that they end up signing Trey Hendrickson to that 4 year, $112 million deal.
So here's the thing, like because all of a sudden you had the back out of the trade, and then it wasn't that far after that. Then you get the uh, the notification that Trey Hendrickson was going to make his decision on Wednesday. So it kind of make you think. And I'm like, huh. So it came out today that you know, according to reports, so not really today, but yesterday that um, it was basically medical reasons. Like even parts of that press conference that the Ravens did today hinted at some medical stuff. But did you happen, read um the what one of the doctors wrote about Max Crosby's knee?
So I didn't actually read anything about it. I was watching the Pat McAfee show. I believe it was today. They had the doctor that did the surgery on the
Yeah.
show, and he said, I mean, of course he's not going to pass the physical exam. He had knee surgery 8 weeks ago. He was in crutches for 7 weeks. He's had his first full week off of crutches, just being able to walk, and everything is progressing the way that they believe it should. So it still makes you wonder because it's like it's a big question mark if he's progressing the way that he should and like taking his time with rehab, and everybody thinks he'll be back by the fall. Nobody expects him to miss any time or have any concerns about that necessarily. It still makes you wonder how and why they decided to back out because of medical reasons.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny because he kind of goes into a little bit more within his statement, and when he says that Max Crosby is doing very well in the early part of his rehab and recovery from surgery to treat a significant meniscus tear and related stress injury to the bone and cartilage in his knee. I kind of took that as being like there's wear and tear just for him being a football player. He wasn't going to pass a a physical just yet, just because it's so new, right? So my theory behind this is that Trey Hendrickson was still available. They decided that they wanted their two first round picks back, and but that way.
And
Now,
yeah,
now, what's funny is that the Ravens GM said today in his press conference that they were looking to sign Trey as well, along to go along with Max Crosby.
yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that.
I'm not either. I think that's him just saving face, but I just found that interesting. Um, I, I don't know, man. This whole thing and I kind of think that they saw the medical and I was like, oh yeah, but I don't know if he's going to be ready. You know, Usually meniscus tears is when you do it, it's like a 4 to 6 month rehab and things like that, and he would have been ready by training camp. So I just think that the Ravens had buyer's remorse.
I mean, and it makes you think like not only did that just kind of like screw uh Max Crosby out of it because he'd already flew over, he'd set up the goodbye podcast, he he did his due diligence for Vegas and was ready to be all in to go be a Raider. Not only did you screw him out of that opportunity, but you also look, they probably ended up screwing themselves because what team is going to look at the Ravens now and go like, yeah, they seem like a team I want to make a deal with? Something like that, you're going to have some pushback. I don't think a lot of teams are going to want to sit there and talk with the Ravens on anything for a
No,
while.
no. I mean, it's that, and then if you look at it from the point of the teams who were actually in the market for Max Crosby, and the fact that all those teams spent their money, used their capital, and used whatever draft picks they're going to use for any kind of trades for upgrades. Yeah, I mean, unless they were going to back out of deals today, because today is the start of the new league year. Yeah, you kind of screwed over a bunch of other teams because that's kind of when that domino started for defensive ends because Max was off the table.
Which yes, screwed it for a lot of teams, but still could theoretically be in play if Chicago wanted to make some type of move.
Okay, I
And
mean, as of right now, and I'm glad we're transitioning to that because that was going to be my next question. What will be a realistic package to get Max Crosby, knowing what we know right now?
so, obviously the original deal was going 2 1s, right?
Well, it
Um,
was two ones and a player originally.
but at least the starting The
Yes,
start was the two ones.
correct. Yep.
Uh, people now are believing. Um, People now are believing that the price is going to end up coming down a little bit with the medical. And if I believe we can get a deal done where we could do a one and a two.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Now it would be up to Vegas on if they would want to take this year's one with our 25th pick or gamble and go 27 first rounder to see if they can get a better draft position. And we also have that second from the DJ Moore trade. You could package either one of them that they wanted, which I believe would go to Buffalo because I think they would be a little higher. If memory serves, yeah, Buffalo would be a little higher in the second. So you could throw in, say, the 26 or 27 first, and then you could throw in Buffalo's second to
From
go
this
ahead.
year,
Yes.
yeah, the Bears pick 56, and I think that Buffalo pick is 60th. So so
Is
it would so it would be later. The Buffalo pick is later in the second round.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, so then it would be ours, but we would still have Buffalo's. I think I flipped them.
Yeah, so the Buffalo pick will be the one that we got in the DJ Moore trade is the one that we will get is the one that we got and it's the 60th pick in the second round. I think the Bears pick is like 56 or 57.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But I mean, you could package that together and that could be a good starting point where a lot of the teams that have edge needs have kind of already went out and kind of established that, the Bears have picked up some players, but they haven't been able to find that splash guy yet. Well, except for two, but we'll get to that in a minute. Um, you can go out and get like your S tier player in like a Max Crosby, and you pair Max Crosby with Montez. uh, you could look at going from I just saw last season they were 26, no 22nd in pressure in pressure rate. I mean, you look at Max Crosby, he can do that by himself. Pair him with Montez Sweat on the other end, who isn't a he's not that S tier guy, but if he had that guy on the other end that would take the pressure away from himself entirely, I mean, he could go out there and ball out.
Here, you know who Montez Sweat is, who he reminds me of, and you might be a little bit too young for this, so I'm dating myself for this. And then again, you might know back when the Miami Dolphins had two defensive ends. They had Jason Taylor, and then they had Adewale Agulia on the other side.
So I know Jason Taylor.
Yeah. So just so Jay,
Habba Labba Ding Dong
yeah.
is.
So Jason Taylor was that dude, was that premier pass rusher, right? And he will always get double teamed. And Adewale Agulia, or they call him Wale, um, he reaped the benefit, the rewards of that, right? By having single coverage. The Bears made a trade for him, sending over Marty Booker, and um, and that became like the Bears' premier pass rusher, but he never really lived up to that premier pass rusher height, so to speak. Like he was a solid player for the Bears defense, but he was never that dude. And that's
And
what Montez Sweat is. Like he's very solid, really good player, but he's not that dude.
it, it's kind of also make it a little more modern for me. It's kind of also like when the Bears went out and drafted Leonard Floyd
Oh, sure.
in 2017. He was never going to be that dude, but as soon as he left the Bears, he went to the Rams, and he played a very pivotal role in like that Super Bowl run, and a few years after that because he was paired with arguably the greatest defensive lineman to ever play the game
Oh
in
yeah.
Aaron Donald.
Well, plus the fact that, Vic Fangio decided he wanted to have his his edge rushers play some coverage too. So think about that as well.
Look, I will never talk bad about Vic Fangio. I love him.
Oh, I'm not saying that he's a bad defensive coordinator. I'm just saying like I'm not a huge fan of having my edge rushers play coverage. I'm paying
Unless
you to rush the passer. So,
unless you're Julius Peppers.
well, I mean, if you have freak athletes that can do that, but still, I want my edge rushers to go put their nuts on a quarterback's head. That's exactly what I want.
I mean, yeah, that's why they're what, the second highest paid position in the NFL.
Yes, yes. So, back to a possible Max Crosby package. I do agree with you, especially if the Bears are going to take a defensive player in the first round. I mean, we don't know exactly where their board is right now, but if they're going to take a defensive player, then yeah, then trade, this year's first. I can part ways with, um, you know, maybe the lesser of the 2 seconds. I mean, even though, to be honest with you, 56 and 60, and especially when reports are coming out basically saying that there's really no difference in terms of talent between the second and the fourth round. It's just how your board is going to stack up. So if you can do that, fine. I'm not prone to do a first and a third just because of how Ryan Poles has been able to not be able to draft well in the third round. So, get rid of the third round pick. You can do that. But I also believe that, and I could be wrong about this, but the Raiders might not be able to trade Max Crosby until we're closer to training camp.
I did see those reports. The two thoughts the two thoughts now with the Ravens backing out of that trade is that they'll either try to keep him in some way, shape, or form. Um, I'm not 100% sure how that would work cap wise. I didn't look into that, but they're thinking about either keeping him or potentially trading him closer to when the actual season starts. Not even training camp, but the season starting.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can do that, or teams could wait and see how he does, and see where he is at, by the trading deadline in October.
That's also a possibility.
I think it's October or early November, which is the NFL trading deadline, if they choose to do so. But unfortunately, you know, the Ravens kind of screwed the Raiders in this situation just because of, now it's they're putting Max Crosby in a position where he's damaged goods, but he's a football player. He's going to have wear and tear, so it is what it is.
And I mean, the guy plays through just about anything too. And the reports that came out last year when he ended up sitting out those last two games, he didn't want to. He
Well, he
wanted to play
well apparently he tore the meniscus in October, played on it, and didn't get the surgery done until the first week of January
because he wanted to play.
because he
That
wanted
was
to
his whole
play.
thing.
Yeah, he wanted to play.
And when he officially legitimately could not play anymore is when he said, "All right, fine, I'll do it now." And you got to respect a guy like that. I
Oh
do.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely,
He knew his
absolutely.
team was out of it,
No,
but
he still wanted to play. Still,
he's an absolute dog. I mean, just that type of grit, that type of mentality, I think would be amazing to have.
yeah. Now I know you mentioned how what the Raiders do, they can always convert his salary into a signing bonus, or whatever. You know, they can kick the can down the road if they choose to do that. You know, NFL teams have gotten really savvy how to, to manipulate the salary cap. So you can turn their guaranteed money into a signing bonus. Players like that anyway because it's upfront money.
And
So
it's right then and there.
yeah, so you can do that, and then just call it a day.
Well, it all depends on what the Raiders are going to do with that number one pick.
I
I don't know.
I actually I actually heard somebody say today that the Raiders should just trade the number one overall pick, get more assets, and then uh trade Max Crosby to the Bears for a third round pick and Tyson Bagent. Now, if I'm the Bears, I'm doing that.
I'm
But
doing that in a heartbeat.
yeah,
Thank you,
but
Tyson. It's
yeah,
been fun. It's been
but the
real.
but the
See ya.
Raiders but the Raiders are not doing that. They're taking Mendoza. You know, they brought in a Linderbaum in to play center, and that dude got paid, by the way.
Reset the market. We talked about it,
Well,
which is
every
why, which is why I think we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
no, before I get to it.
I mean, that's why I think the deal that they made for Garrett Bradbury was so good for Chicago.
Well,
L-
number one, it allows you to get a year worth of of Bradbury at a cheaper cost, and then you can sit up here and try to draft a center, your center of the future, and or have them compete.
I mean,
Garrett,
it's at that they were at that same they're at that same elite level. Bradbury ended up having less snaps than Linderbaum, but Garrett Bradbury allowed 0 sacks, which is actually not super crazy. It's very hard to give up a sack at the center position. But the most important thing about him is that he had 0 penalties last year.
yeah, yeah. I've heard a little bit different in terms of like he wasn't the most highly ranked center, and there were some things that were concerning about him being able to be bulldozed because he doesn't have an anchor. Basically, that means you don't have an ass.
Pretty
So
much, yeah.
yeah, so um, him being able to be bulldozed by defensive tackles isn't exactly a great thing that I want to hear, considering the fact that yes, Caleb Williams can move, but he's also a 6'1" quarterback. And I've been saying it for a while now. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm putting all of my money into defensive tackles, and I'm going to sit up here and obstruct his view. I'm going to sit up here and see if I can keep him in the pocket where my defensive ends are containing the edge, along with my defensive tackles collapsing the pocket.
I mean, it's very smart. You would just have to find the right guys. I
Yeah,
mean, unfortunately, there are no more Vince Wilforks in the league anymore.
no, because everyone wants to play with speed. It's part of the reason why the Bears are not going to re-sign Andrew Billings, because of that. Because he doesn't fit exactly what they want to do, especially as a D tackle that can play both D and D tackle.
And especially because Billings was more of a 3 tech than a 1 tech. If you're going to be slow and immobile, you want to be in that 1 tech when you're, right on the guard center instead of uh, more head up on the guard or guard tackle. You
Yeah,
you would want him more in the center, and he didn't even play there. So
no, I
it,
mean he was when he was signed, he was more so that that guy that was going to take up two blocks to open up, whenever that three technique was going to be on the opposite side of him. He was your run stopper. That's basically what he was.
and he was okay at it.
Yeah. I mean, he was all right. I mean, you can definitely tell, especially like the last season, not this past season, but the season before, where he missed the rest of the season, and the Bears' run defense was lacking.
Yeah, you could tell in a lot of it, and you know what he did his job, which was to plug up the middle. He wasn't you're never going to see the stats from that guy.
No,
He wasn't going to show up on the stat sheet.
no. But um, as far as like, the Bears and their free agent signings, um, I what are your thoughts on that?
So, um, got a little bit of a list here. Um,
Yes, the Bears did some work.
they did a lot of work. They did a lot of work here. The the re-signings that they did, I think, were very smart. Um, the two being, or the three being, DeMarco Jackson for a 2-year deal. I think he's a great sub backer. He's got decent speed. Um, and with the filled hole that the other linebacker that we got, um, he's a great special teams guy. He was one of the best special teams guy on the Bears last year, and I believe will continue to be.
Which one was
Uh,
that one? Daniel Hardy?
uh, Daniel Hardy was the other. Daniel Hardy was the other one.
Okay.
DeMarco Jackson played special teams and came
Yeah.
in after TJ and Tremaine got hurt,
Well, I
and
mean,
basically,
they're starting three linebackers because you can also include Noah Sewell in that as well.
yeah, you could also include that too. They re-signed Case Keenum for another 2-year deal. Case Keenum should and probably will never see the field again. He's just there to be that extra guy in Caleb's ear, which I think has actually been a tremendous help for him.
Yeah.
Um, and then the one that's interesting, but could also, I believe, was a very smart move is they re-signed Braxton Jones to a 1-year deal to be that stopgap, or to compete to be that stopgap left tackle.
Well, they signed another left tackle today from the Browns, another first round pick who,
It
um,
was Jedrick Willis,
yeah. So they
also a
signed,
1 year.
yeah, they signed him today. I'm assuming, just to be another part of the rotation, especially in training camp, to see who can win that left tackle. I'm still holding out hope that maybe not now, maybe closer to training camp or even closer to the regular season, they'll put an offer out or a feeler out for Taylor Decker.
That's who I really wanted, but you know, give it time. If nobody bites,
Yeah,
why not?
I don't think, with his age and the miles that he has on his body, he's not going to want to go through a full training camp.
No.
So I think it's one of those you see what you have in camp, and if it's really bad, you make that phone call, kind of like how the Bears did a few years ago, where they called God, who was the old offensive lineman who played so many years with the Eagles. Um, why am I blank?
Oh my
Why
God.
am I blanking on his name?
Oh my God. He was massive
Yeah,
and was an elite offensive tackle, but we signed him at the age of like 39 or something.
yeah. Like when the Bears called him, he was like, I think he was on his fishing boat.
Yeah. Jesus. Oh my God. I can't remember. Uh Jason something. Oh my God. That one's gonna hurt. Um, but the two big boys that we did end up getting in free agency, uh was obviously, the first one was Kobe Bryant, the safety for the 3-year 40 million.
Oh, sorry, Jason Peters.
I knew it. I knew it was Jason something. Jason Peters, outstanding left tackle with his time at the Eagles. By the time he got here, he was just old.
Yeah,
Um, but Kobe Bryant signed a 3-year, $40 million deal to basically be the Kevin Byard replacement. Um, he's he's a freakishly fast and solid cover safety. Um, everyone everyone from what I've heard is saying that he was our biggest pickup of free agency. I don't necessarily believe that. I love my safeties, but there's one position that I love more than safeties, and that's linebackers. The big one for me is getting Devin Bush on the 3-year, $30 million deal. Devin Bush is going to be exactly the player that Dennis Allen wants. That fast, just reactive linebacker in the middle of the field who can go sideline to sideline whenever you need him to.
Well, I mean, you're also talking about a philosophy that I think we're seeing take hold with the Bears in terms of speed and also interchangeable parts. You know, being able to play multiple positions. Now, I I at times would like to have my players to be able to concentrate on one, which is why I keep saying I want that one dude I know for a fact that can rush the passer. Like I don't like having flexibility going between inside and out. That's great and all, but give me just that one dude that could put his hand in the dirt and just go rush the passer. But as far as like Devin Bush, I do like the fact that they signed him. You know, it's a really good deal for linebackers. Speed coming off a year where he had 125 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, and then 3 of those interceptions returned for touchdowns. And I think the one he had, I can't remember against the team, but you definitely saw his speed and being able to,
Uh, it was a 97-yard pick six, and he topped out at like 20.6 miles per hour,
yeah,
making him have the top speed for linebackers last season.
yeah. So between that, and I saw a stat too that DeMarco Jackson and Bush were the top two in terms of passer rating for linebackers. So that's a good thing as well. I mean, because if you can't get to if you can't rush the passer, you at least got to try and play coverage for as long as you possibly can.
Which was unfortunately something that you missed a lot uh, when TJ Edwards ended up going down. Because
Yeah, and
TJ
that
because TJ Edwards had a lot of that good speed. You know, he wasn't the best pass coverage guy, but
no,
he
he
still
was
had a lot of speed that he could make up for it.
no, he was a very instinctual player that knew how to play football.
Yeah, he guy's a football player.
Yeah,
Um,
and you need that.
let's see, what else do we got here? Um, we got Cam Lewis on a 2-year deal. At corner, he ended up playing a little bit of. He played some safety last year. He can also play nickel.
I'm wondering if that's your Jalen Jones replacement. I do like Jalen Jones. I mean, right now we're talking about bottom of the roster guys. Um, you know, I do think that we'll see a lot of these signings or even draft picks coming up be like your major players, unless they trade, you know, those picks for a stud,
For
Max
yeah,
Crosby. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Um, there there's one particular signing that I saw that was very interesting for myself.
Hmm.
Um, they ended up signing Lions receiver Khalif Raymond on a 1-year deal.
I do like him. I told a buddy of mine that I felt like that was more of a, yes, it's a Ben Johnson kind of a thing, but I think Antoine Randall fought for that too, just
I,
because, you know, of his time with the Lions and you've heard nothing but good things from the Lions when it comes to him. Good locker room guy, a guy that can play all 3 wide receiver positions, know what he wants, knows the Ben Johnson offense. So I mean that's something that's needed.
so originally when I first saw it come through, just initial thoughts was kind of a question mark for myself because I
Hmm.
figured that most of our receiver room was pretty much set even after the DJ Moore trade. But when did a little digging, yes, again, come from the Lions, was in that Ben Johnson tree. Like you said, another good locker room guy. But another thing that I saw is that he plays special teams too, good returner in punt and kick, which is
Yeah,
something that I believe we very well need.
yeah, and what that can do also is because the Bears last year had 2 guys doing that. And if you have just one person doing it, it frees up the roster spot to do something for something else. Um, the one the one signing that I thought was interesting, and you mentioned it too, was the Braxton Jones signing. I thought for sure he was gone. I truly did. But the fact that he only came back for 5 million kind of and it could escalate to 10 million depending on, if he any escalators within his contract, incentives, anything like that. But, I felt like, oh, that's your starting left tackle. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I'm I'm not as high on Braxton Jones. I think you can do better than Braxton Jones. But I think, they're banking on Ozzy Trapillo to be back either later next season or him to make a full recovery the following year. I'm hoping that's the case. But I've seen enough of Braxton Jones to know that he's a decent football player. But I think you can always upgrade from him. But he's more of a stopgap right now.
And that's pretty much what I thought too. And that's why they brought in Jedrick Willis to kind of be in that competition with him Jones and shoot
Theo
Th-
Benedict,
Theo Benedict.
and don't
Yes,
forget, Amagaji is just still there too. So, um, their third round pick from 2 years ago.
I still don't want to see him on a football field again. I'm
Well, that goes back to those third round picks that Ryan Poles just trade, since his third round picks haven't exactly panned out to be much of anything over the past few years.
You saw him play 5 snaps, and three of them were like the most catastrophic things you could see.
Well, I mean, it goes back to that his I think his first start on a Monday night um against the Vikings, and they just left him out on the island for some reason.
Well, it was like the first play was a sack, second play was a false start.
Yeah, Karan Amagaji. Yeah, that I mean, he's probably going to be in the mix as well. So I'm not concerned about his playing time, but like I said, having Braxton Jones back, um, there's some familiarity with the actual uh, offense. They know him. Um, Maybe an off season where he's not rehabbing and he's actually working on another another guy that needs an ass. Um, it, for him to be able to do that and maybe this is a big year for him because if he proves to be, more than a decent left tackle, he can get paid next year.
I mean, he definitely has a lot to prove, and I think you put it exactly the way that I was thinking. There's that familiarity with the offense. There's that familiarity with your offensive lineman next to you, because a lot of people forget that he was the starter at the beginning of last year, and I think they brought him back kind of with that renewed focus of, hey, you know last couple years haven't exactly gone the way that you like, but we will offer to bring you back at the 5 million price point with the potential to go to 10 mil on incentives. We'll bring you back to see if you can prove yourself, and if you can prove yourself, get that starting spot, play well for us, you can go get paid somewhere else.
Yeah. It's funny because, I actually thought that once again that Braxton was going to get paid, you know, $10 million a year. You know, Actually, I thought he would have got that if he would have stayed healthy. But, 5 million is something um, you know, that's good for him for a fifth round pick. And he could definitely, you know, make up some of that stuff with incentives. Now, the one I wasn't shocked, especially after they signed Kobe Bryant, that Kevin Byard didn't resign. But the fact that it was $9 million, and it looks like it came down to the Patriots and the Bears are based off of what he was telling Josina Anderson, that she was on the phone with him, and basically he said it came down to the Bears and the Patriots, and he chose to go back to where he played under Vrabel when he was with the Titans. So um, $9 million, you know, I probably would have done that too, but it looks like they're going for more so the youth movement as well as some interchangeable safeties.
And if it was down to us and New England, and say we both offered the 1 year 9 mil, and he decided to go play with his former head coach, want to go reunite with him again, you can't get upset with the guy for doing something like that,
No,
and you also can't get upset with the Bears because it's like, hey, they threw it out there, they weren't going to offer any more, but
no. I'm not. I'm shocked that um hell. I mean, Jaquan Brisker still may be back. I highly doubt it. But we have to see. But another guy that I was shocked that didn't get paid based off of reports was Deshaun Wright. I mean, there was reports saying that he was supposed to get paid anywhere between 10 and $13 million a year. That dude went to the Jets for $5 million.
I think he got put on another prove it deal.
Well, I also, no, you're right. I also think that they don't think people around the league think he's not good. Or I hate using that term. Let me take that back. They think that his year last year was an anomaly. Like, not saying that he's bad, but you're not going to get how many interceptions did he have last year?
6.
Six. They don't think that he's a interception person. And if you take away those six interceptions, there's a reason why he bounced from team to team, right? So one of the things that I thought about was, and when I heard about this deal, I'm like, maybe Nashawn Wright is a microcosm of what everybody around the NFL thinks about the Bears anyway. That last year was an anomaly, was kind of a fluke, right? So maybe the Bears are in a situation they still have to prove it. So that's why I think that you know some of these guys are going to be on prove it deals just because of what happened with the Bears last year.
I mean, and recency bias kind of tells you that it's true. The last time that we had a year like this was 2018, 12-4. Uh, I think we were also the second place in the conference. Yeah, we were only behind the Rams, but that's just because they went 13-3 that year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the year after that, we barely made the playoffs.
So funny story about that next season. I went to Bears training camp and I was all excited. And they did some drills where they had, I think it was Mr. Trubisky. Um, I forget who the third string quarterback was. Then they had the backup Chase Daniel doing some.
Nathan Peterman,
No, it wasn't Nathan Peterman. It was
not yet.
Tyler Bates, I think.
Oh yeah, Tyler Bates. Yeah,
Yeah. So all three were doing some fun stuff with the fans, like doing like wide receiver DB. They were throwing to wide receiver, like wide receiver DB kind of challenges. And um I always tell this story because it's just a microcosm of that season. Can you tell me which quarterback out of the three was the best during that drill?
Chase Daniel.
No,
It was Bates, wasn't it?
no.
It was Mitch.
And it was not Mitch. It wasn't a quarterback who was actively playing. Matt Nagy.
Oh
Matt
no.
Nagy was dropping dimes that day. That's how I knew that 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 the that season was going to be bad.
Oh no. Oh no. Well, okay, that's yeah. And I mean, it, I mean, theoretically, when you look at that season, it could have ended up a lot different. If Javon Wims decided to catch a ball instead of catch a chain, you could have had a different conversation there.
Yeah, well, I mean, just think of it this way, you know, that same dude that Javon Wims, pulled the chain off of is also was a what was a Bear last year too. So there.
And smacked him directly in the mouth and was very confused on why.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I will
it,
never forget that.
it is what it is. Like I said, that story is just I always like to tell it when we always talk about the 2018 season and they're always going to that next year. I was like, yeah, I saw signs of that offense not being great.
It I just remember that season being so much fun.
The 2018 season. Oh
Oh
yeah, no,
yeah.
I honestly, there are times when I go back and I look at videos of that season. Like Mitch Trubisky had some really good games. Like
He had a six touchdown game against Tampa Bay.
yeah, no, he had some really good games. Like his game, like both games against the Lions. He had a game against obviously the Tampa game, the game against God, yeah, the game against the game
He
against
had
the
a really good game in the playoff game against the Eagles.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He had a good game against the Eagles in the playoff game. I'm trying to figure out the other game that he had a um
He had a solid showing against Minnesota, the second meeting in Chicago, if I remember correctly.
yeah, but Mitch didn't play horribly that year. Once again, I think he's a byproduct. The Dolphins game he played pretty well. Hell, I mean the New England game. The Bears didn't lose the New England game because of Mitch. They lost because the defense couldn't stop Brady.
Oh my God, I remember that.
And just remember too, they were 1 yard away from tying that game up because Kevin White came up 1 yard short on a Hail Mary.
I remember that game now. I do remember that game.
Yeah, he
Um,
had a really good game against the Packers on the second Packer game. Yeah, it's not like Mitch played horribly. He's a unfortunately, and it's not his fault. You're a byproduct of the fact that the Bears trade up to get you and they drafted you, I think what, number two overall.
number two, ahead of uh everyone remembers ahead of Patrick Mahomes, but you also had Deshaun Watson,
Yeah.
who people nowadays forget that before he was
Mr. Tuggy
allegedly an
Tuggy, Mr. Tuggy
allegedly an
Tuggy,
awful person.
Tuggy Tuggy,
He before he decided to pay for the
Tuggy
happy
Tuggy,
ending,
Tuggy Tuggy.
um, it was an absolutely phenomenal quarterback.
Yeah,
That's why he got paid so much to go to Cleveland.
yeah. One of the worst contracts in NFL history.
The worst.
All that
Oh,
guaranteed money.
I think it's the worst because of the guaranteed money, but there's also others that could take that spot.
No, that
Like
would be by far the worst.
like
Unless we can come up with other contracts that rival that Watson contract is by far the worst one in NFL history.
the
I'm
first
sure I'm sure we can come up with others, but that's off the top of mind.
well, that was off the top of mind until I heard something the other day, and I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he signed the first $100 million deal in the NFL and played like 3 games.
Mm,
I can't remember who it was, but that was an awful deal as well.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, the Bears free agency, I I'm hopeful that they'll do more stuff, but as of right now, I think they're a worse team right now than they were, um, when they lost to the Rams, a couple of months ago. But the good news is that they don't play games right now. So, um, I the Bradbury pick trade I do like in a way, but the rest of the guys, except for Devin Bush, are just depth pieces. Contavious Street is another guy that will play both inside and out. So they got guys that can do both. Um, but the Kobe Bryant one, I'm definitely excited about that one. When I saw that, I was like, okay, good. I thought he had a hell of a Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely. He absolutely did. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah,
And that's why I got so excited when we got him, because I think we needed that reactory speed linebacker.
yeah,
We haven't had one solidified. I mean, we had TJ Edwards 2 years ago, but he was hurt last season. So, it's a little bit of all right, let's see you do it again, prove it type deal. Um, but we haven't really had that demon in the middle since Urlacher.
yeah. And
And
actually, it's a different scheme. Tremaine Edmonds was signed to be Urlacher, to be that rangy middle linebacker that's able to take up space in the middle, especially within their cover two scheme. This is more of a defense that's going to be a little bit more flexible in terms of your linebackers, and your linebackers got to be able to run.
and the linebackers that we do have are able to run,
Yeah,
which
I mean,
which excites me.
they got another one that they drafted last year, Ruben Hippolyte, who also started a game because the Bears, all three of their starters were hurt. Um,
He's a little more on the raw side still, or
yeah, I
when he
mean,
played, he was on the raw side, but there's definitely potential there. You could see
yeah,
it.
absolutely, absolutely. So
And we're just gonna have to see. You can't win games in March.
no, there's been a couple of years where the Bears won the offseason and they were bad. So, so we have to see where they go. Free agency is still going on. Today's the start of the new league year, and they still got the draft coming up within the next 6 weeks or so. So we'll see where it goes.
It'll all be very interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, so one of the things that's been talked about lately, especially when the legal tampering period started, was the fact that um, the Bears were not awarded compensatory draft picks based off of the fact that Ian Cunningham um, basically got a promotion. So, and the league told the Bears no, you're not getting your picks. So basically, the rule is, and I can't believe that we're still doing this, but it is what it is. But the league is supposed to reward um, you know, the Bears or any team for having a minority candidate um, that gets promoted, right? And unfortunately, Ian Cunningham, who got a promotion by the letter of the rule within the NFL rule book, Bears didn't get their picks because of a technicality.
Because he wasn't actively named. Uh because because the Atlanta Falcons decided to call the position that he went to just something completely different than what it's the same position, but they decided to call it something different so that they wouldn't have to.
Well, no, he, he was the assistant GM for the Bears. He's now the general manager for the Atlanta Falcons. The problem is that Matt Ryan was named the president of football operations. That's how the league is getting around it.
Yes. And it's it's horseshit.
I agree, and one of the things that I've been telling folks is that I hate both citing these things, but if a Bears executive came to me and asked why you didn't necessarily get why we're not getting the comp picks, I'm going to say two things. Number one, Matt Ryan, technically, you all can say what you want, but Matt Ryan is the president of football operations. If you all, if you, and this is not saying that the Atlanta Falcons did anything malicious. They didn't. It, it's not like there was all, you know, or the picks are coming from Atlanta. No, the league awards these. But what the Falcons should have done was name Matt Ryan as a special advisor to Arthur Blank instead of naming him as president of football operations. Because when I hear president of football operations, that means that Matt Ryan's in charge of football,
which would be your general manager.
which will be your general manager. But your general manager still has to run things by your president of football operations.
Mhm.
See what I'm saying? So that
They
it's
added another rung to the ladder.
correct. And then also another thing that I would tell the Bears if I was arguing on behalf of the league, you all, the Falcons hired a head coach before they hired you. So who really runs football?
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
So
typically
because
when you typically when you do stuff like that, you know, and the Bears really haven't had it done in forever. Even Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles necessarily. You typically want to get your GM and head coach together, package them. You want them to be a tandem in a way.
ty- typically you ty- typically your GM should hire your head coach in theory, right?
Thoughts.
Right.
That's the thought.
So my guess is that Arthur Blank hired because I can't remember if Kevin Stefanski was hired after Matt Ryan or before Matt Ryan. He might have been after Matt Ryan, but I think and I could be wrong about this. But um but the way that I look at it on a total poll based off of how you were hired, it's Arthur Blank, Matt Ryan, Kevin Stefanski, then Ian Cunningham. Unfortunately.
I think you're correct. I think it's kind of in the way of like the way that Mike Vrabel runs the Patriots, or how, and you can't say that because he was head coach and GM. I was going to say how Bill Belichick ran the Patriots, but he was everything. He was
Right.
the Patriots.
Well, you know what's funny? I want to see what happens if anything goes this way. Would the league ever award another team comp picks? Let's say if a assistant general manager or a person who has a title of president or player personnel person goes to the Cowboys and be general manager. We all know who runs the Cowboys.
Well, at least for the next, I want to say 3 to 4 years, but at the rate he's going to be here for another 30.
Correct. So would that team get comp picks based off the fact that Jerry Jones is basically in charge of the Cowboys? That dude would get a promotion, but Jerry Jones is in charge of the Cowboys. That
He would get a promotion, but have the same level of uh, responsibility.
right. He'll have the same level of responsibility that he would have at the other team because Jerry Jones is in charge.
Hmm.
So once again, it's the Bears should have got the comp picks. They should have just by the letter of the rule. But unfortunately, you got that technicality.
And that is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
It, it's a load of bullshit. They should have got the third round picks, but I mean, what are you going to do now, right?
No. I mean, I'm assuming the Bears talked to the league and the league said no. You move on.
And they, was it today or yesterday? They gave out the list.
Yeah.
It was like 56 picks were awarded,
Yeah.
and you sit there and you go, you're going down the list, going down the list, going down. Really? Chicago isn't on here? It doesn't
Same
make
thing
any
I
sense.
said. Well, here. I actually told a friend of mine, I said, because he was like, "Oh yeah, the Bears are going to get comp picks for Ian Cunningham." I said no. He was like, "Why?" Because Matt Ryan's in place as president of football operations. Well, he's not running football. I go, doesn't matter. The title's in place.
When you think of the president, what do you think of? Leader. And
Yeah,
what is he the president of? Football.
football operations. They can say what they want about Ian Cunningham's going to go to 53 or whatever. He's probably going to go back to Matt Ryan and say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." Matt Ryan's going to say, "Either do what you want to do, or yay or nay." Or Arthur Blank is going to say no.
Yeah,
Question that
that's
I
exactly
have
what I
is how much say so does Arthur Blank have in football as well? Because that also
Okay.
plays a part too. So, that's just my own personal opinion. Once again, I do think the Bears deserve those comp picks, but I understand why the league said no.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like you said, it's all based on a technicality. When you have to go to, it technically,
Technically,
it goes, all right, fine, we get it.
yeah, yeah,
And it's
uh,
just, it's just ridiculous.
yeah, and it's like I said, it's unfortunate that we're still in a situation where we still have to incentivize um, football teams to take minority candidates in higher positions. It sucks that we have that,
Oh,
but
it absolutely does.
that's kind of the world we live in. I know that there are fans that want the third round pick, the comp picks for this year and next year, but I don't think they want them because of of Ian Cunningham or because he's a minority candidate. I think that they just want him just because it helps the Bears. Um,
That's
but
exactly what it is.
but you know, it is what it is.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. But when you look at it, when you look at it from when you take a step back and look at it, Ian Cunningham was a very vital piece in helping put together this Bears team that we know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
I still think they need a quarterback. Hey, second round pick for Tyson Bagent. Come on, Poles, and come on, Cunningham. You
that's not
guys are.
going to happen.
Oh, I know, I know, I know.
We know exactly who is going to Atlanta.
Who's going to Atlanta?
Nope. Wait, I did it again. I flipped it. We know exactly who's going to Minnesota.
Oh, Kyler. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Kyler's going. Speaking of, was there any free agent signings that shocked you, or just money in general?
Um. So the money itself, Linderbaum in Vegas. I mean, you knew he was going to reset the market, but anytime somebody resets the market, it's still a damn. That's a lot of money. Um, Kenneth Walker going to Kansas City, I think, is going to be huge. Um, I don't think people have talked about how well this is going to help Kansas City. I don't think people know exactly how well this is going to help Kansas City. I mean, you can't keep throwing out like Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco out there.
Well,
This is
Isaiah Pacheco is with yeah, he signed somewhere else.
Pacheco signed with the Lions,
Yeah.
but you know they kept throwing out these just these guys at running back in Kansas City. Now you're giving arguably the best quarterback in the league a top end running back. That's
And
dangerous.
and an offensive coordinator that's going back that the team actually believes in. Travis Kelce went back because not because of he wants to play one more year, but he went back because, you know, of I believe because of Eric Bieniemy.
I could see it,
And,
but
and
Eric Bieniemy has is proven in Kansas City.
yeah,
Um,
they
let's
couldn't
see.
they couldn't wait to get Matt Nagy out of there.
One of my biggest wows was Alec Pierce. signing the I forgot exactly how the wordage breaks down, but it's like the highest free agent paid wide receiver in NFL history.
And the funny thing is, I actually liked them coming out. Um, but unfortunately, that's they may regret that contract in 2 years.
He's a very, very good wide receiver. I just didn't think he was going to get that type of money.
4 years, 116 million with 80 million guaranteed.
That's crazy. Now, Indianapolis did something today that also shocked me. Not too much, but for the amount of money, they signed Daniel Jones to the 2 year, $100 million deal.
Well, it's 88, 2 years, 88,
Oh, it's 88, 100 with
88.
incentives.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually, unfortunately, that's the going rate for quarterbacks. Um,
Ridiculous.
so that doesn't because the franchise tag for quarterback is 40 million, I think.
I think it's something around there. Yeah.
Yeah, so that it is what it is with that, but that's the going rate for a quarterback. If you're decent, 30 to 40 million is your starting point for a quarterback.
But again, it's still Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles tear.
I get it.
Insane.
You're not wrong.
But and again, it goes back to the fact that when Daniel Jones was playing on that team, they had the best offense in the NFL.
Oh,
So
you're not wrong.
so it makes sense that they wanted to resign him. I thought it was the best if they did resign him, but again, just that price tag just still opens your eyes. Um, let's see. There was another one. The defensive end that Carolina signed,
Yes, that was going to be my one. That was my one that shocked me.
and I'm blanking on his name, but um, he signed for massive money.
Jalen Phillips.
Yes,
Yeah,
Jalen Phillips.
yeah,
You know,
he signed a 4 year deal, $120 million contract with 80 million guaranteed, and the dude hasn't had, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's had a double digit sack year.
blew my mind. I thought for sure he was going to stay with Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm not one because go get your money, and I'll never fault an athlete that wants to get paid. Go get your money,
Get it while
but
you can.
get it while you can. But man, his highest sack season was 8.5. But I'm also, I don't know. I just can't. He's only played 17 games 3 times. Actually, I'm sorry. Yeah. So 2021, 17 games, 2022, 17 games. And then he actually played 17 games last year, excuse me, because he was traded from Miami to, I believe he was traded from Miami to Philadelphia, but he only had 5 sacks last year.
And
So I don't know. It's I'm always interested when I see this, especially I, I always compare the NFL and the NBA together to see who's going to get paid ridiculous amount of money.
it's everybody.
Yeah,
It's everybody going to get paid a ridiculous amount of money. Um, I forgot there's one more that I wanted to talk about
sure.
that is huge in my opinion. Mike Evans signing with the San Francisco 49ers.
Will he
If
stay healthy?
if I remember, it's a 3 year, 80 million. It's either 80
That
million or 60 million.
that's a going rate for a wide receiver. That's pretty much DJ Moore contract.
DJ Moore's a lot younger.
I understand that, but I think for me, if you look at the Mike Evans contract, I would have to see like those guarantees and if you can get out of that deal after the first 2 years.
It it didn't bloom. The money isn't what necessarily blew my mind. It's the fact that he actually left Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
I
okay,
thought he was going to be a Tampa Bay lifer.
no, you're not wrong about that. Not wrong.
I
You know,
mean, he played on that team when they were
horrible.
the worst. I mean, the he holds is it is he holds the record with Jerry Rice for most consecutive 1,000 yard seasons,
You might be right about that,
or
but
did
I
he
mean,
set the record? I can't remember. He either holds it with Jerry Rice or set it.
I can't remember either. But it kind of makes sense. I mean, right now he would be the third option. If he would have signed in Tampa, he would be the third option behind um the
Mecca
one
Ibuka.
yeah and Chris Godwin Jr.
See, you
So
would think that, but Mike Evans is just so damn good.
no, I get it, but just like with other things, it's kind of a young man's game. So you know,
And him going to San Francisco pretty much solidifies him being that number one
oh
still.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and I don't think he's had he being God, what's the quarterback's name for
Brock Purdy,
yeah Brock Purdy. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that on names. Um, guess I'm getting old.
the
So what
young
happened?
man's game.
Right, right. Especially when I think about my daughter turns 14 tomorrow, I'm like, oh, I'm getting old. Damn it. But yeah, having Brock Purdy having a legit number one wide receiver that can actually go out and catch balls and stuff like that. So I mean, he's had good wide receivers, but not to the level of Mike Evans and his career.
I mean, he's had Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, still has George Kittle,
Yeah,
but
he still has George Kittle, but but having a wide receiver who is 6'5" that can go up and get it. Now the question is, can he stay healthy? Because he only played um, 8 games last year, but we'll see how that works out for the 49ers.
that was kind of the biggest thing because that was like his first significant injury of his career.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you look at his stats, I mean he's missed ones and twosies. Even one season he missed three, but just like you said, last season was his first year where he was legitimate hurt.
Typically, when that happens, when you're, I think he's 32,
Yeah,
31, 32. Typically, when that happens at that age, you see a significant decline in durability.
yeah. That's why I'm curious on the bonuses and things like that within his contract and how it's structured because maybe the 49ers can kick it out of that after the first year.
And a lot of it could also be incentive based.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. All right. Anything
but
else regarding the Bears free agency or NFL
no,
free agency?
no, that's pretty much it. I mean, there are probably other deals and massive, crazy things that did happen, but just nothing that's coming to mind.
Yeah. Um, I have a random Bulls thought that I've been thinking about. Actually came to a head today. Um, I will be so happy when the NBA can figure out the whole tanking thing and whatever they're going to be doing in terms of punishing teams. Because you and I had this conversation before. I hate rooting for my favorite team to lose. You know, I don't. I mean, yeah, I want to see good players play, but if they're playing well, play to win the game. Um, Monas Buzella scored 41 last night, and there were still people bitching him on that the Bulls won. He was part of the reason why the Bulls won that game last night. It happens. As long as I see development, I don't, and it causes winning, I'm okay with that. And I get it. the first four picks of this coming NBA draft are supposed to be quote unquote generational or franchise changing. But if you really look at the top 10 or at least the top 7 or 8, there's some dude, or at least 5 through 8, there's some those dudes can play. Those dudes can flat out play. And I've been doing a lot of research, especially now we're getting closer to the NCAA tournament, watching way too much college basketball, way too much college basketball, and there's dudes that's out there that can change the franchise. And just because you don't get within the top four doesn't mean you, you're drafting a bum or you're drafting a guy that's not going to be franchise altering. We need to stop with that because you know for me, I've always thought that there's more than one way to build a championship team. If yes, having top draft picks help, but you know what else helps? If you draft well, player development, coaching, and also those players that you draft have to be able to take coaching as well and be open to the idea of be open to the idea of player development. You know what I'm saying? So everything goes hand in hand. I just wish we could just get to a point where we're not rooting for tank wins. Like you know what that is,
And
right? Tank
oh
wins.
yeah, oh yeah, and you also look like even if like you said the first four guys could be uh team changing, franchise altering guys. You look over the past say 10 draft years, there were a lot of guys that were supposed to be franchise altering picks that just have not worked out. I mean, first one that honestly comes to my mind is James Wiseman. When the Warriors drafted James Wiseman at 2 in the 2019 draft, I believe it was.
He could have been franchise altering.
Or sorry, that was the 2020 draft
Well, yeah, that because Anthony Edwards went one. That was the COVID draft. That's the draft where I
with
will always
Tyrese
go back.
Halliburton,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the
uh,
one that pisses me off.
LaMelo Ball,
Yeah, that's the draft that pisses me off to this day.
and who did the Bulls take that year?
Some guy named Patrick Williams.
That's kind of my point. You also have to be able to make the right draft pick. You got the year
Correct.
before that. You got the year before that where you had probably the most hyped up prospect since LeBron James in Zion Williamson going number one. And what is he doing in the NBA right now?
Well, here's the thing. Who was drafted number 2 that year?
Ja Morant, what is he
Yeah,
doing in the NBA right now?
can't stay healthy and getting himself in trouble.
Yes, Zion can't stay healthy, and Ja, be the suburban boy you were born into.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You know what? I wouldn't say all that. I just think that there's um, a situation where a lot of these players are they need the right surroundings around them. Um, they
And
need
Zion
vets.
didn't need to be around Gumbo
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Gumbo, man.
when you're having as much as he could.
But his issue is yeah. I mean, it could be his weight. His weight's number one.
It
You know,
was
but
it was for a bit, but I think it's just for Zion. I think it's just his joints failing him because
well,
he didn't work on them.
he's a bigger kid. He he's
And
Zion is one that he really shouldn't be. He's a basketball player in a football player's body. Like he technically should be a defensive end or a left tackle.
yeah, that man should be rushing or protecting a quarterback.
Yeah, but
But I mean, even this season when he lost the weight, he's not playing nearly to the effectiveness that he was before.
no, I mean he hasn't been healthy. I mean he's still having soft tissue injuries, things like that. But you know. I mean, yeah, I mean, Zion hasn't lived up to the hype. Ja Morant, for the first few years of his career was that dude and possibly the face of the league, and then he got us into some trouble, but it is what it is,
I mean, yeah, to go back to that point, like you can put yourself in a position where you could draft the next guy and you could just make the flat out wrong pick.
yeah.
Or
I
it could
mean,
just turn out different.
here, there's no guarantee that the top four that people are so enamored about, no, you never know.
Well,
There's
well,
always that.
for conversation's sake, and I will continue to believe this until he is officially dethroned, who is the best basketball player in the league right now?
Well, it all depends on what you're looking for because the top two players in the league right now are Jokic and um or
SGA.
or SGA,
When
which
was
by the
Jokic
way,
picked?
second round. When was SGA picked?
I believe he was top 10.
He was he was I think he was either 10 or 12. So for me, it just goes to show you that you don't necessarily have to. And the thing about SGA is he wasn't originally drafted by the Thunder,
No, he was drafted by my second favorite team in the NBA,
Clippers.
the
Clippers.
Clippers, and then
Yeah, he was.
decided to destroy their franchise multiple different times and they are still the joke of LA somehow. I don't understand.
Yeah, but like I said, that was just my little thing, and you know, if if Modest Buzelis scores 41 and the Bulls win, I'm not going to hate it. If they score 41 in a loss, I'm not going to hate it. I just want the whole tanking thing to just be over because it just does something for me to root for my team to lose. Like I hate rooting for my team to lose to fire a coach. I mean that's kind of where I was a few years ago in terms of Matt Eberflus. Like just keep losing. But I hate doing that. But I don't know.
It it's one of those um it's one of those that you just really do hate to see. Like you want your favorite teams to be playing well, playing good, playing for championships. And when they're not, it's really hard to get out of that
Yeah.
gutter, that rut. And the best way to do that is to be able to get good draft picks and be able to draft well. But there's two parts to that. It's if you are that bad, you also have to be able to draft good, which I
And
mean could
and
look different with Buzelis. It was starting to look different with Io, but typically the Bulls do not draft particularly well.
it not with this regime over the past few years. In previous regimes, yeah, but not with this one. But we'll see where we go. You had a Bam thought before we get out of here.
So for those that didn't see, last night Bam Adebayo set what's in the record books is the second most, but in some people's eyes, the most points in an NBA game at 83 last night. Um, you kind of knew it was going to be something special when he put up 36 in the first quarter, when his career high was like 45, 46. You kind of go, okay, he's starting to get onto something. Um, he had 40, what was it, 44 at the half, and then 40 in, or no, I'm sorry, he had 43 by the half and 40 in the second half. Um, for the first three quarters, I ended up kind of doing a little research, kind of watching it back. Through the first three quarters, guy was on an absolute tear. You know, just he wasn't necessarily getting force fed the ball, but he was taking his shots. He was playing against a Trey Jones and a bunch of 19-year-olds. Um, he was absolutely bullying people down low. He was making threes, and one of the good things too is the guy can hit a free throw apparently. He went like 20, uh, 26 for 32 or something, or 34. Um, Now my question to you, because I didn't watch anything on like ESPN or anything talking about it. My question to you is, do you have a problem with NBA teams trying to force feed the history books?
It that's a tough question because the old school person in me would say yes. I would have a problem with that, but I understand why they would because you know if he's going to break it, I'd rather for him to do it within the confines of the actual flow of the offense. Because for what I saw from last night, it was just all right. Well, you're close, so we're going to try and muck muck up the game a little bit. We're gonna, you want to foul, um, either him or the Heat's gonna foul Wizards players just so they can get them extra possessions. I'm not a fan of that. But if it's a situation where they're trying to give him the ball on offense and to shoot a three or take the ball to the basket, something like that, okay. But I also put this on the Wizards for not putting him on his ass.
Oh, they look terrible today. They
Yeah,
are the laughing stock of the NBA, at least today.
yeah, you put him on his ass. This is where I feel like at times where I understand why people don't like today's NBA. Um, I I get it, but if it's a situation where have some pride. I don't want some dude putting up 80 points on me. So put him on his ass. I mean, you don't have to hurt him, but just let him know, hey, you're not going to do this. And I guarantee you, if a Wizards player would have put Bam on his ass, Spoelstra would have took him out of the game immediately because
Probably.
he
I mean,
because he wouldn't want his player to get hurt.
and they had the game pretty much well and done
Yeah,
when.
but for me, like I didn't see Wilt's 100 game, but I've seen um, most of the other high scoring games. Like if you look at uh, Donovan Mitchell's 71-point game that came against the Bulls, by the way, the Bulls were winning that game.
That was a close game throughout.
Yeah. Or if you look at Kobe's 81 game, they were down 18 at one point. So like for me, I just feel like, yeah, it's cool, but a lot of that stuff was just garbage points.
I mean, that was kind of the question that I was bringing up, was the fact that they were trying to foul to get the extra possessions. The Heat were doing everything they could to just try to get Bam the ball on offense and defense. They had that game well and one going into the fourth quarter.
That's why I said that it all would have been different. It all would have been different if one Wizards player took Bam out. Like I said, not to hurt him, but just put him to the floor.
Just rough
A,
them up a little.
a nice hard foul, a nice hard foul, especially the start of the fourth quarter. Spoelstra would have taken him out because he didn't want to have his best player get hurt. Then we don't have this conversation.
Very true. It's that's exactly what it is. And again, you look at some of the most high scoring games in NBA history. Those that have them are playing against just bad teams.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, talking about a Wizards team that's not playing with Trey Young, not playing with Anthony Davis. They're tanking.
I told you it was Trey Jones and 19-year-olds.
Yeah, so that's what you're left with, and and
Um,
and you wonder why there's people that don't like today's NBA, even though the today's NBA doesn't bother me. I keep saying that the game has evolved Actually, all of basketball has evolved for the most part, but you can understand why there's people that don't like today's game.
Um, Kobe's 81 point game was against a Toronto Raptors team that had 30 wins.
Yeah, but that game was close.
That
That game,
helps it,
yeah,
but again, it's just a bad team. It was against a bad team. Um, because when I saw it, I also saw on Twitter right after the game ended, and they were having the whole celebration and whatever. Um, when Luca scored 73 when he was on the Mavericks, and they kind of did the same thing where they were following the other team. I can't remember who they played, but they were following the other team trying to get him, more opportunities to score. Um, I remember the media absolutely killing the Mavericks for doing that.
yeah.
So
I thought that game was a little closer when Luca did his. I thought that game was close.
from from what I was reading, I think it was close for a bit, and then they kind of pulled away from if I am correct. Um, but they absolutely dragged the Mavericks over the coals because they were trying to force feed Luca that not record, but like that high scoring game.
Oh, here, Luca scored a career high 73 points against for the Dallas Mavericks against the Hawks. Um, 2 years ago, winning 148 to 143. So the game was close.
No, then I don't know why they were trying to. Okay, whatever. But I vividly remember them dragging the Mavericks and Luca over the coals for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they would do that when the game was close.
It my thought is it just could have been his volume of shooting. It's just that he was taking so many shots.
He took 33 shots and shot 25 or 33. He was efficient that game.
So then I don't know. At this point, I don't know.
Yeah, all good. No, but like I said, you know, congrats to Bam for doing that. It's a he will always have that. No one can ever take that from him, but you will always have fans that will question it just because of how it was done.
I mean, he's still, like you said, it's still a hell of an achievement.
Yeah,
In the record books as the second highest scoring game of all time. You overtook arguably one of the greatest scorers of all time, his spot.
yeah.
It's still an incredible accomplishment. I thought it was actually super cool to see. Um, it's these like 70 plus point games are becoming a lot more frequent in the NBA today, but
But
it's still really cool to see.
that's just because of how the game is played now. The game is more fast paced, free flowing, not a lot of defense, which is why certain people just don't like the game right now. So that's what you get. So you're going to have a lot more um, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 point games.
80,
I mean, at some point within the next 5, 10, 15 years, you're going to have a person score 90.
probably. I just hope it's done in a little more ethical fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't necessarily want to see 2K video game, points, but this is where we're going. So it is what it is.
It's going to happen, but again, history tends to repeat itself.
Yeah.
So, like you said, the next 10, 15 years, you could see somebody scoring 90. 20 years from now, you could see games going back to, 105 to 98 or something, based on certain rule changes or something to make it more competitive because that's just how sports work.
Right. Right. Yeah. Anything else?
Um, I know we don't ever talk baseball.
Oh, we can talk baseball
I'm embarrassed to be in the United States
because of Mark DeRosa.
because we lost to Italy in the World Baseball Classic.
Hey,
Granted,
hey,
they
they
had
got
21 MLB starters or
hey they
MLB players.
hey they got two White Sox players on that team, so I'm happy.
Um, and the fact that the United States of America, the one who set up, uh, is the host for all of these games, only got in or only got out of pool play because Italy beat Mexico 8-1 tonight.
I don't understand some of the tiebreakers because I think Italy had to score so had to win by a certain amount of runs.
They had to score at least four. If they won, they had to score. No, I'm sorry. They had to score at least five and win.
Hmm. All right, well, there you go.
I can't believe that is how it ended up coming up to. I'm I'm embarrassed for the United States if they don't go out and just absolutely torch some of these guys in in the bracket play. It's going to be all for naught because it still wouldn't be as fun of a time as they did it a couple years ago when it was USA Japan in the finals. Because like the two teams that were thought to be competitors to the United States because they brought their heavy hitters were the Dominican Republic and Japan. Those were the only two teams that were allegedly supposed to be able to compete. And you lose to Italy.
Well, apparently they kind of went out and partied a little bit too much the night before because their manager, Mark DeRosa, decided to tell the boys, "Oh, we don't need this win. We're already in bracket play. We're good."
And then found out in like the seventh inning that, oh no, this is a must win.
Yeah, at that point it's too late. So
But they tried to make it a game.
they tried.
I
You
mean, PCA hit two home runs.
know, yeah,
That's looking good for the Cubbies.
yeah, yeah.
Uh Cal Schwarber did his thing too. I will love him forever.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anything else?
That's it for me. I just had to
Uh,
get that off my chest real quick.
no worries at all. No worries at all. Well, that's all the time we have for the another rousing edition of the How Dead Sports Podcast. For Austin, this is Paul. Thank you all again. Please like and subscribe. Tell your people to watch. See you guys next time.
See ya.